This is not a Rachel Maddow special. This is reported in black and white in full detail in the New York Times. I am only the messenger. All right, Amelia Earhart. She sets off in 1937 to become the first woman to fly all the way around the world. And it does not work. Her flight disappears over the South Pacific. Fast forward 75 years, 2012. So in 2012, there's going to be, on the 75th anniversary of her effort to fly around the world, whereupon she disappeared, 75th anniversary, there's going to be a new excursion to try to find the wreckage of her plane, to try to figure out what happened to her. And an eccentric gazillionaire writes to the expedition, writes to the guy who is leading this expedition to go look for Amelia Earhart. And the gazillionaire guy says, effectively, hey, we've never met, you don't know anything about me, but I really want to come along on this mission of yours. And I will give you $1 million if you'll take me. So the guy leading this expedition is like, well, I don't know, but we really should, could sure use $1 million of this guy's dollars. This is an expensive thing. So sure, I guess you can come along. So they bring him along. And the guy who they have brought along is somebody who has had an unusual life. He grew up in fabulous wealth. His last name is Mellon with 2 L's, the banking dynasty, one of the most famous and famously wealthy families in the history of the United States. Timothy Mellon is an heir to the Mellon family fortune. He also, over the course of his life, used his share of the Mellon family fortune to found and acquire and run a whole bunch of different companies that ended up having just appalling records of the wrongful death of their workers and causing environmental disasters and falsifying their financial records, including at least one criminal conviction of one of his companies. Yeah. Anyway, but the guy floats on a sea of money. He's a Mellon, right? And he has decided that he would like to spend some of that sea of money on which he floats on paying to attend the Go Find Amelia Earhart mission in 2012. And so he pays $1 million to make them take him on the mission. And here we pick up with the New York Times. Quote, the expedition failed to find Ms. Earhart's plane. But in subsequent online discussions where members of the expedition shared theories about the Earhart mystery, Mr. Mellon became increasingly fixated on video taken during a previous underwater search. He wrote hundreds of posts over many months where he claimed that he could see airline wreckage, personal effects, and eventually bodies. Others tried to explain to him that he was only seeing rocks and coral, but Mr. Mellon insisted that he could discern items that they had missed. A banjo, a severed hand, even 75-year-old rolls of toilet paper. Okay, just checking in here for a second. It's the 75 years after the... So this is literally 75 years after the plane went down. And what this dude thinks he sees is toilet paper from back then, under the sea today. Because who among us does not think if we dropped some toilet paper into the sea, it would be intact and sitting there waiting to be collected 75 years from now? I mean, in fact, if you're short on storage space in your house or your apartment, have you ever considered just storing your toilet paper under the sea, perhaps with SpongeBob? Put it in his little pineapple house. You just tuck it in there, it'll definitely still be intact and in great shape 75 years from now. Well, I would say if you did that today, this would be the year 2099. You'd be, floating your toilet paper up to use it because it would be in great shape. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, anyway, back to this. Mr. Mellon insisted he could discern items they had missed. A banjo, a severed hand, even 75-year-old rolls of toilet paper. It was apparent, he said, that the heads, meaning the anatomical head, The heads of Amelia Earhart and her navigator were encased in cellophane bags connected by a hose to a nitrogen tank, which he thinks he saw on an undersea video, even though nobody else could see it. So alongside the intact 75-year-old rolls of toilet paper, the man is convinced that he has found Amelia Earhart's head in a cellophane bag. This is strange, yes? This is strange. And so what happens next? Two things. One of them you might guess, the other one you won't. The first thing that happens is that the leader of the expedition, quote, fielding complaints from members about Mr. Mellon's outlandish ideas, eventually limited Mr. Mellon's privileges on the online forum. Meaning, you know, my dude, thank you for paying $1 million to come along while we tried to do this thing, but now I think we're maybe done with you and your insistence on the heads in a bag thing. So that's the first thing that happens. You are no longer here on our online forum. Okay, sorry. What's the second thing that happens? Mr. Mellon, again, convinced he had seen Amelia Earhart's head on the seafloor in a cellophane bag, sued the expedition, claiming his $1 million gift had been unnecessary because the expedition team already had video evidence of Earhart's plane, but did not act on it. He spent at least $150,000 on his own forensic experts trying to prove his assertions. He pursued the case all the way to an unsuccessful appeal. While a judge dismissed Mr. Mellon's claims, the case dragged on for years, which, among other things, imperiled the group's finances. So dragging this thing out for years, potentially pushing the exploration company to bankruptcy through no fault of their own, right? But he's dragging them through court because they screwed him, right? They had the evidence of the toilet paper all along, and the banjo, and the heads that no one else can see, but he can see them. Okay, so pop quiz. Which figure in this story is the single largest donor in the country to the Donald Trump and J.D. Vance campaign? If you guessed Amelia Earhart's disembodied head in a bag, I'm sorry, you're wrong. No, it's this guy. And unexpected twist, which figure in this story is the single largest donor in the country also to the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. conspiracy theories and anti-vaccine presidential campaign? Also not Amelia Earhart's disembodied head, nor the cellophane bag, nor the toilet paper rolls. Same guy. You've heard all this news about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance having all this support from, Elon Musk and all these eccentric, very, very, very right-wing sort of anti-democracy billionaires, right? Actually, no, it's this guy is the biggest donor. This guy has given more to the Trump-Vance presidential effort than anyone else in the country. And he has also given more to the RFK Jr. for president effort than anyone else in the country. Both of those campaigns, him as the largest donor. And of all the weird things in this story, it is actually not all that weird that those two things go together, that Trump's biggest donor is also RFK's biggest donor. I mean, Republican political operatives are now running RFK ads in 5 swing states that call RFK a liberal and call him pro-choice, neither of which he is, but both of which are intended to siphon votes away from Harris and the Democrats by tricking people into voting for RFK instead. The RFK campaign at this point is built to help elect Donald Trump. As for Timothy Mellon, though, the I found the head of Amelia Earhart in a bag guy, he has made nearly $250 million in donations to conservative candidates and causes just in the past 4 years. He's not a long-term donor. He's not been doing this forever, but he's really doing it now. And he indeed has given $75 million to Trump and Vance and $25 million to RFK Jr., and who knows what else is coming. Mr. Mellon wrote a memoir in 2014 in which he said, citizens who get help from the government, quote, are slaves of a new master, Uncle Sam. He also wrote in that memoir that in the 1980s, quote, black people became even more belligerent and unwilling to pitch in to improve their own situations. Even more belligerent. but that is the man who has done more, materially more, than anyone else in the United States to try to get these men back into the White House. And honestly, to get toilet paper the respect it deserves.